Hello, hello. We are back to another week of Things You Should Know. In today's episode, we're going to talk about the two most common traits that determines if you will be successful in your life. Now, have you ever looked at successful people or people that you admire and you think to yourself, damn, how did they do it? Can I do it too? What can I do to get there? Now, realize that most successful people that we see or we know, they have these two traits in common, and they are grit and perseverance. Now, when you think about well-known successful people like Elon Musk, Steve Jobs, Oprah, Michelle Obama, and many more, you can see grit and perseverance are actually a huge part of their day-to-day when they're achieving their goals or when they're building that empire. Now, the question is, do you think you have grit and perseverance towards the things that you want to achieve in your life? Now, I'm going to take a step back. When you ask yourself the question, if you have grit and perseverance, it doesn't necessarily mean that you should have that in every single thing that you do and it's in you for, all of your life. It really means, do you have it towards the things that you want to achieve? Now, to be honest, for the longest time, I didn't even really understand what people meant when they use these words like grit and perseverance. Like, yes, at a super high level, I understand what the definition is of these words, but I wasn't sure how to apply it when in relations to the things that you're doing towards your goals. And it wasn't until I read the book called Grit, The Power of Passion and Perseverance a few years ago from author Angela Duckworth that I really then came to understand the meaning and the importance of the power of grit and perseverance. Now, I think that there are a lot of similarities between grit and perseverance. But at the same time, there are slight differences in them. For example, for grit, in the book, it talks about how effort does play a huge role in defining someone's success. And that if you were to put it in a formula, let's say, it'll look something like talent times effort equals skill. But skill times effort equals achievement. Now, I think the takeaway for that formula or analogy is that yes, having talent, like we call, what we call natural talent, it's great and all, and yes, it does help get you ahead when you are more talented in an area than other people, but talent itself doesn't guarantee success. And when someone has some talent and they continuously practice and put in time and make sure that they make themselves even better, then that becomes a skill. And when you developed a skill and you continue to put in a lot of effort and time into mastering it, then that's when it becomes an achievement, a success. So now, what about perseverance? Now, perseverance plays a huge role in what we were referencing earlier when it comes to effort, the effort department. Think of perseverance and grit almost in the sense of an obsession. Now, these obsession could be lifelong obsession, like maybe you have always dreamt of being a singer, and that's your life goal. And you're obsessed in doing everything you can on a daily to make that happen. But obsession could also be applied to seasonal things that you really, really want or care about. Like maybe, let's say, getting into a football team during college years, or getting a promotion this year, or being able to make it to a team that you want to join for the time being. Because whatever it is that you want to be and do to be successful or achieve in your life, you gotta be so interested and so passionate about it that it is almost one of the top things on your mind all the time. It doesn't go away until you get there, and you can't even help it. So it is not even something that you could force yourself to like remember, like it's some sort of homework that you have to force yourself and remind yourself like, oh yeah, I have that thing that I need to do again. It's something that you find it hard to even get your mind to stop thinking about it. So when you think about the things that you want to achieve, and it could be long-term goals, long-term achievement, or short-term seasonal achievement. When you think about that thing or that list of things, do you see yourself having grit and perseverance towards these goals? So when you think about that goal, do you find yourself, maybe even on the daily or every other day or every other week, just very, very often, that thought comes to your mind and you're trying to figure out how am I going to solve this? How can I put together a plan, a strategy, a way, a steps, whatever it is that you got to do to build that, to get to that success? Like, do you find yourself thinking about that often? And do you put it into practice, right? That's how grit and perseverance kind of comes together, is when you actually put in action in putting together plans, thinking strategically, thinking about ways of what do I need to do to get to what you think is success is, or making an impact or developing skill, and then you action on it on a daily or very, very often. You persevere even when you're hitting challenges, when you're getting a no, when you're getting rejected or turned down, or something, or even it's just yourself telling yourself that like, hey, you know what? I know I'm not good enough and I could be better next time. Beating your own time, or, however it is, right? Like, let's say if it's a swimmer and they're practicing, and today you could hold your breath for 1 minute and 10 seconds. And to you, if you really, really want to become a really good swimmer and being able to hold your breath under the water, you then want to beat your own record. So the next time is you setting yourself, okay, I'm going to try 1 minute and 15 seconds, right? And so those are the things that you yourself are constantly doing and setting, so then you could achieve that goal. So that's the question that you want to ask yourself is, are you putting in the time, the thinking, the perseverance, regardless and despite that it is difficult, it is hard, that you can't even help it almost, that you can't even help it but to keep thinking about it, trying to find ways to achieve it, get there, figure it out. How can I do it better next time? And put in the actual work, right? Until you get it, until you master it. And going back to the formula earlier, it doesn't even strictly matter if you are so talented in that thing or not, because you could have, let's say, minimal talent in something and you really, really want to get good at it. Therefore, you put in the effort. So talent times effort, right, equals skill. So you then become more skillful at this thing that you're working on. It becomes better and better. And through that, you don't give up. You persevere. You keep going at it. So that skill, given enough effort and time and perseverance, it turns to be achievement, a success. So be candid with yourself. Ask yourself if the things that you want to achieve, is it the things that makes your heart sing? Is it the things that makes you kind of obsessed? Like you can't stop thinking about it. You can't stop trying to figure it out. You can't stop trying to get better at it. Until you get there, you just keep thinking about it, but you don't just think about it. You don't just want it, but you put in the action, the hard work, because that is what your hearts and what you want to do to get there. Even though, right, you're sometimes perhaps going to get discouraged, kicked down, or whatever it is that you're like, man, this is hard. This is difficult. But despite all that, you keep going. You keep trying to figure it out. You keep trying to learn. If you have that feeling towards the things that you want to achieve, then I have good news for you. It is very, very likely that you will become very successful in those area or the thing that you want to achieve. Now, in the opposite end, not that it's bad news, but you just have to be super candid with yourself, right? Because if your goal, let's say, is I want to be a billionaire, and that's my goal. That's how I define as successful. Like, that's what I want. But you don't see yourself thinking through every day, well, okay, how am I going to get there, right? Strategically, do I have a plan? Like, at what age, by what time, do I have to do what to start that path to get me there? So if you don't see yourself thinking strategically, daily, very often on like, okay, how am I actually going to get there realistically? What do I need to put in place? How am I going to actually put that in place to slowly build the momentum so I get closer and closer and closer becoming a billionaire? Likelihood is you don't have the grit and perseverance to actually get you to that success. You just want it, just like how it is material. You look at a car, you're like, oh, I want that. You see a beautiful human, you're like, ooh, I want that, right? But like, you're not gonna have the grit and perseverance to make it happen. Sorry, the human one's a little bit, not applicable here, because that's completely different in terms of emotion. Sometimes things just don't work out. But, anything other than that, like your goals in life, like perhaps you want to start a business, maybe you want to be, a musician, or, just something that you want to be achieving and you want to define that as success. Like, how do you work to go there, to get there in a legit noble way, right? Because now that I'm talking about it, I'm like, well, I mean, if you really, really, let's say, want to start a family, you could, work on how to meet more people, be out there, be more approachable. I guess stuff like that will be applicable too. But yeah, so I mean, overall, I think, ask yourself those questions, like, what exactly do you want to achieve? Do you want to be successful in? And ask yourself, like, do you see yourself having the grit and perseverance, those traits to really help get you there? And if so, then keep going at it, because very likely you will get there and you'll do great things. So I hope you enjoyed today's podcast. If you like to hear more and let me know the topics that you're interested in, please do follow me on Instagram at Real Things You Should Know, and I'll talk to you more next week. Bye.